What's up, my friends? Clay Albright here, headed to a clean up in North Carolina. So I got a few minutes. I wanted to ramble. If I get this camera straight. So huge thank you to Dallas Rushing and his YouTube channel. Was watching one of his videos the other day where he was pointing out, I think it was EOS Nation, and all these links that are on their website to information about EOS. And lo and behold, they have added my name as an EOS contributor, which I'm flattered. Obviously, I do this because I'm so freaking proud of EOS and what it's capable of that I can't stop thinking about it. But the fact that other people are into some of these videos is fantastic. Kind of ironic, but my biggest video that I've ever done is, I think it's around 18,000 views. I mean, not huge in comparison to some of these people. But I wasn't even in the video. It was just Dan. I just did all the editing and cutting from some other videos or some other interviews that he did and put it together. It's called, what is it called? EOS as explained by Dan Larimer. That's the one that I've gotten the most views on. So anyway, last couple days I have spent putting together another video about DAX, specifically from Brendan Bloomer and his videos, or several of his interviews. That kid is sharp, man. I've watched a lot of his videos recently, and he's very passionate about EOS and the DAX and their capabilities, and he's pretty positive that you know, DAX are going to take a huge chunk out of some of these centralized technology platforms, he calls them, which is your Facebook and your Uber and whatnots. He makes no qualms about it. You know, and his arguments are fantastic, because it's like, hey, once you open source the code for a technology business, then millions of people all over the world could contribute to that code to make it better. And his statement that I loved so much was, how do you compete? How does a centralized company, you know, compete with that? And in his opinion, they can't, which remains to be seen. I actually agree 100% with everything that he's saying about DAX, and I'll have the video finished in, I'm sure, a day or two and have it out there for you guys. I really enjoy doing that. It takes a little while, but it's fun. So big thanks to Dallas for mentioning me on his channel, and then also I wanted to say, hey, thanks to the Awakenment channel and to Dallas Rushing for all the work you guys are doing, because I do enjoy listening to your videos. As an EOS junkie, I try to get as much EOS as I possibly can. There's still a few things about it that I have questions about that I'm still digging around on, but nothing drastic. For the most part, I get what's happening. I am very anxious about this June, because it's just, I mean, it's been a freaking year. I was excited when they announced it in June of last year, and that excitement is just at this point starting to grow as we've learned more about it, and they've announced the airdrops and, you know, all this ecosystem that's you know, spreading out around EOS right now is pretty exciting. I would love to know what kind of plans they have for the launch. I mean, I know this isn't a Super Bowl or anything, but you know, cryptos have somewhat become a sport, man. Everybody's got their favorites, and they back them, and they root for them, and they're out there promoting them, and I mean, and making money on a lot of them, you know. Is EOS going to have any kind of spectacle event, you know, or fantastic show around their launch? That's a question for you, community. I don't know. I would love it if they did. I mean, I'm actually kind of picturing like a ball drop, like you would see in the, you know, Times Square, New York City for New Year's Eve. That's what I've got in my head. But I know that's not the case. You guys got to see this. I'm heading up the mountain here. Let me flip this around. Can you see that? Look at that view. That is amazing. Anyway, I'm originally from Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is very flat. Love Oklahoma, but it's very flat. The Great Plains in the middle of the United States. And so being around these mountains here in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina and South Carolina is breathtaking to me still. Makes the drive a whole lot more pleasant too when it's beautiful outside, and it is beautiful outside. Back to EOS. I have some other questions about the platform. One of them is, I don't even know how to describe the question, but it's, you know, like when Bitcoin came out, it was, you know, the open source code was available. So obviously some people copied it, and we have copies of Bitcoin, or they were forked, and we have forks of Bitcoin. Is that something that, I mean, I know EOS doesn't need to fork because they can update, but like what if someone just takes the software and tries to set up their own, and is that even a consideration for us, or should we even be concerned about that, or is that no big deal because even if they did, all the current token holders would receive a token from the other platform, or what? I mean, and then there's part of me that doesn't, I'm not really concerned about this, it's just I don't understand part of that, on how the open source code, or is it that if you copy the code, that's how you, maybe, is that how you become a node? Like you copy the code and that's how you connect in? Whatever. I'm more theoretical on technology than I am technical. I used to be an operations manager in the corporate world, and that's one of the things I did is I managed programmers, and I was able to get by on enough knowledge, but I'm not a programmer. And boy, programmers have become popular lately, haven't they? Huh. It's like I said about cryptos being a sport. I mean, we're bouncing around talking about programmers, developers, Dan Larimer, you know, this as like they're athletes, you know, on the crypto sport team. And we got a star quarterback, you know, it's that kind of feeling. And that's how I feel about EOS. EOS is going to change a lot of things. You know, I was contemplating why this technology has got me so intrigued, and this one thought kept coming to mind, which is all roads lead back to EOS. And what I mean is, like, you think about the state of the world that we're in right now, and I mean, and I'm not talking about just the United States, I'm talking about the world. You know, this isn't the world that we designed. This is somebody else's agenda that we need to overcome. And when I get frustrated because I feel like the education system in the United States is dumbing our kids down. They're not really educating them. They teach them facts about history that, and quite frankly, might not even be true. You know, so where do you begin to make a difference in the education system in the United States? Okay. I also have concern about the political system in the United States. I think the entire country at this point has concern about the political system in the United States. But, you know, I realize it's corrupt. I realize many of our politicians have been compromised, you know, in ways that are affecting their judgment, and their votes are basically being bought by our opposition. I get that. So how do you overcome it? How do you combat that? And, you know, when you're one person, I'm not suggesting that I can't make a difference. I'm just saying, you know, these are the thoughts that go through my mind. And then, you know, I mean, you can go almost into like just businesses in general, the corporate world, how these large corporations are pocketing billions of dollars annually at the expense of our environment, at the expense of sometimes the health of human beings. You know, they're supposedly people, these corporate corporations, under the law, they're treated as a person, which I do not think should be allowed because they're not a person, and they've gotten away with murder because of that. probably literally. So, but again, how do you begin to affect that? How do you begin to overcome that? Okay, so all roads lead back to EOS. EOS is a technology that can allow change to grow organically into each of these different sectors of the world, including the financial sector, obviously with Bitcoin and, being financial at this point, and all the other options that are out there, payments systems, payments infrastructure, all that stuff is going to drastically change because of the technology. The underlying technology is about to get a reboot. The entire internet as we know it could potentially change over the next 5-10 years and look a lot more like EOS than I think people really understand. But that's what's got me so excited, is because when I'm at home and I watch the news, which I don't do very often, but on occasion when it's on the TV and I hear a newscaster talking about, negatively on Trump or negatively on, any of the things that potentially I believe in, well, I get a little frustrated because I feel like they're being one-sided. They're not just telling the news; they're actually biased, and they shouldn't be as the news. That's frustrating. We know this now, that our news is essentially propaganda. So that's very frustrating. But to know that something like EOS is coming in the background. It's only a couple of months away from hitting launch, and that millions of people could utilize this technology to improve the world because it's open source, because we can work together, because developers these days are brilliant. I mean, look at what we've got online that's not secure. Imagine what we can do when it is secure. So, and we're going to have software programs allowing for, transparent elections where votes are counted, but, not exposed, and gets guaranteed and quantifiable and all that. And, there's going to be a lot of really cool things coming down the pipeline because of EOS. That's what gets me so excited. It's the impact that it's going to have, and to know that it's just a seed right now. It hasn't even been born. So I joked with my kids the other day that one of these days they may be studying blockchain development in their math classes or their computer classes or whatever the case may be. And they may be coming back to YouTube videos from myself or Dallas Rushing or the Awakenment channel or some of the EOS videos, obviously, that Dan and Brendan have put out as sort of a case study on change in the internet and what it was like to be around at that time. 10 years from now, things are going to look a lot different. And that gets me excited. So it means that even though I can't be, every day making strides to change the way we do elections or change the way that they educate our children, it means that I can support a project like EOS, which we hope will have a major positive impact on all of these business and government and education sectors. So this is probably about enough. I have ranted a little bit. I apologize. I enjoy this. I hope you guys have gotten some great information out of the videos I've done. I'm going to continue to do them. I like this. It gives me a chance to talk things out a little bit, and believe it or not, in my experience, that's one of the best ways to truly understand something, is to try to tell someone else about it. I work with a guy, Cody. He doesn't really know anything about Bitcoin. I mean, believe it or not, the kid sits next to me, hours at a time, and we don't talk about cryptocurrency. Imagine that. I mean, that's all I've done for years, is talk about Bitcoin, and I'm as excited about EOS as I was Bitcoin. And, you know, how do you get someone who's not into cryptocurrency? How do you get them excited about cryptocurrency? It's difficult. It's difficult to explain. It's difficult to, you know, to describe the impact that it could have. Oh, it might change the way we do votes. Okay, that's pretty neat. Whatever. You know, it's like one little tidbit doesn't really, it's hard to truly explain, but when, you know, in 5 to 10 years, looking back, people will be like, wow, you know, it was like when we first had the internet. We had no idea what we were going to do with it. It was just there, you know. What are the possibilities for the internet? Well, we see now through some of the different websites and technologies that use the internet how big a deal it was. We just didn't know it yet. You know, same thing with EOS. We just don't know yet how big of a deal it truly is. You guys have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.